Man, I just couldn't believe what I was hearing. I wanted to cry my eyes out, man, because my brother didn't deserve that shit. But this Fed knew fucking everything. 3 tons of hash. Tell a lie, it was 2.6, because the Guardia Civil robbed 400 key of it and had the police motorbikes already in the back of the van as soon as I went past. So Tom was taken away, and that was the last time I ever saw Tom. It always seemed like a setup to me that day, who I was now in balls deep in the firm, yeah, no getting out of it, left him. And right there and then I was like, oh mate, that is not happening to me. I've got to get out of this. If you don't fucking send me some money or help me out, I'm fucking putting a lot of you down. I was like, there's no way I'm leaving my life in these boys' hands. The only way out was in death or jail. Tom was obviously in jail now, so I had to step back up, and there was no way I was doing it. But these motherfuckers were killers, and I didn't know how to tell them no. And he looked at me and he said, you gotta fucking do it. I just burst out crying, and I don't know what it was. And it was like getting it out of my system now, because you don't want to be crying in the place that you're about to go. I looked up to the side of the motorway, and there was one Fed there with his hand on a gun. In Spain, if you run, they shoot you. At this point, there's butterflies in my fucking stomach because I know I'm fucked. So I was like, is this worth fucking dying over? If I run that way, I'm gonna get shot. If I stay here, I'm going straight to jail. So I'm fucked either way. My brother is innocent. We were just taken down a wrong fucking road. You know what he said to me? Okay, that's fair enough. But depends on what he says in there. Depends on whether he has a life sentence with your dad. Man, I just couldn't believe what I was hearing. I wanted to cry my eyes out, man, because my brother didn't deserve that shit. You know, but this Fed knew fucking everything. They knew everything. My brother was lucky to step out of the police station that day. And you know, when you sit back and reflect on it all, it's quite sad that we all went through that as a family when there was just no need to. You know, that's why I'm such a big advocate against crime. You know, because crime may seem like it's a good thing at the time when the money's coming in, but that money ain't real money, man. It goes as quick as it comes. You can't trust no one. Your friends are gonna turn on you. You can't trust the women. It's just a hostile existence with no longevity. So I'm totally against crime, because unless crime has, you know, really affected your life, and believe me, if you're in crime, it will at one stage. It's gonna. You know, you'll never glorify it or get on and rap about it. But what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take it back to the beginning of when I was originally getting into all this shit. At 19 years old, when I done my first load, there's a video on my YouTube channel for that. Driving my first load at 19, driving a ton of hash at 19, there's a video, I'll put the video up. But yeah, I'm gonna start from the arrest, and then I'm gonna throw little stories out there as of when I remember them, yeah? Right, here's a story when I was arrested in Spain at 22 with 3 tons of hash. Tell a lie, it was 2.6, because the Guardia Civil robbed 400 key of it. How do I know that? Because I packed it. Here's the story. Okay, I'm in this firm and they're associates of my dad, and I've been transporting hash for them since I was 19. I'm now 22. So the whole firm is down in Marbella and we're picking up a load. But it was something weird about this day because the whole load was just scattered in the back. At this stage, I'd been bumped up in the firm. A couple of crazy events led me to getting bumped up the firm real quick. So I weren't no longer driving at this stage, I was ghosting. Ghosting. You have a driver in front a click, a kilometre, and you have a driver behind 1 kilometre. The matey in front will go off, drive straight off. He will get off at the toll that we're coming off. He will check it to see that there's no police barricades there. As soon as that's good, he will then get back on the A7, drive back up the motorway, get off the motorway, come back on, and then he's behind you, and it swaps around like that. And that is how ghosting works. So any police, any motorbikes that come up behind you, your job is strictly to crash the car and take the heat off the consignment going down. So we're ghosting my mate up. We just call him Tom. Tom was a fucking funny fella. When you're driving a load of gear, the anxiety is through the roof, as you can imagine, you know. So you got to be able to switch off. Like, I used to just put the music up as loud as I could. We all had our own ways of dealing with the pressure, but Tom used to wank, mate. So as you're coming up the A7 from Marbella, you come across like Granada. So we're up as far as Granada, which I think is like an hour or a couple of hours up from Marbella. From the moment I got off the motorway and came back on myself to go behind the load, Tom was already pulled over and had the police motorbikes already in the back of the van as soon as I went past. I was like, how the fuck have they done that so quickly? And it was my job to smash the fucking car up, mate. But I didn't smash the car up because it was too late. It was too fucking late. They was already in it. If they're just pulled over on the side of the road and I smashed my car up, you may be able to get away with it, run off or something, but it was too late. I don't know what the fuck, how they got to him so quick in a matter of 5 minutes. This is why I thought it was always a setup. It always seemed like a setup to me that day. But anyway, so Tom was taken away, and that was the last time I ever saw Tom. There's a lot of other stories I'm going to go in with that, but to cut a long story short, they left him, mate. My dad's associates, who I was now fucking balls deep in the firm, yeah, no getting out of it, left him in Granada in a place called Baza. And it was a rough fucking jail. I was disgusted on the way they treated him and just left him like that. And right there and then I was like, oh mate, that is not happening to me. They ain't doing that to me, mate. I've got to get out of this. So a couple of weeks went by, we let the dust settle, and Tom was banged up down there to the point where, because he got neglected and he had nothing, like absolutely fucking nothing. You can't, if you got nothing in a place like that, you're fucked, mate. And he had nothing in there, to the point where he was like, if you lot don't sort me no fucking money out, there was nothing I could have done. I was young, I was 22 at this stage. They were the money people. They're the ones that should have looked after him. And that was the deal, mate. When anything happened like this, that was their fucking time to get their hands in their pockets and sort it out. And as I say, he was just left to the point where he had no other option to say, if you don't fucking send me some money or help me out, I'm fucking putting a lot of you down. But they sent him money. Thank fuck for that. But I was like, there's no way I'm leaving my life in these boys' hands. No fucking way. No way. There's other stories what I will go into with Tom, and it gets deep there, man. So that's a whole nother story. But at this point I was shitting myself, because I was like, okay, this is how they deal with the people, innit? This is how they deal with their firm and their people. This is how they want to deal with you. Okay, fuck this, I've got to get away. I've got to get away, I can't do it. But I was too fucking balls deep in there, mate. You don't even understand. I will tell you the story what really elevated me, right? It's a fucking mad story as well. And these stories will probably get me in trouble, you know. But I don't use anybody's names, so fuck them. Anyway, so time went on and I was in Senenegras, which was a townhouse, which was inland and that. And I tried to get away from these people, and these people just used to turn up at my house, mate, and just take me away to Marbella or take me to Valencia or take me to fucking Barcelona for work. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't have no choice in the matter, mate. I was a part of the firm. I was in there, you know, and that was it. The only way out was fucking death or jail. So it come to the point where there was another load coming in, and Tom was obviously in jail now, so I had to step back up, and there was no way I was doing it. But these motherfuckers were killers, and I didn't know how to tell him no. I was taken by one of the bosses, we just call him Colin, and Colin was a bad fella. I liked him though, I liked him up until this point here. We were sat outside the Navy, the warehouse, waiting for the load to be brought in, and we were sat there talking, watching the Navy. I thought it was a good time to tell him that I didn't want to do this no more. At the time I had a lot of music opportunities, which I've mentioned before, with Daisy, and I told him, I sat there beside him and I said, listen, I want to be a rapper. And he looked at me and he laughed. And he said, do you want to be a rapper, do you? You know what he said to me? I always thought this was weird. He said, even Eminem went to prison. And I was like, first of all, Eminem never went to prison. And what a fucking weird thing to say to me. So I said, I don't want to do it. I've just seen what's happened to Tom and I can't do it, Colin. And he looked at me and he said, you gotta fucking do it. I had to do it. And this particular time was weird as fuck because it was done over 2 days. So it was never done over 2 days, it was the one day, but this particular time was done over 2 days. So that was weird anyway. I had to go up to Valencia and pick these hospital units, right? And they were great big hospital units. Hospital decontaminating units they were, 2 of them, massive. They both hollowed out, would take a 1.5 tons each. So it's 3 tons, 1.5 tons each in each of them. So I'm in the warehouse, and I'm hollowing these things out, breaking them all out, so it's completely hollow inside these units. So then I'm stripping back all the bales of hash, I'm vat packing it all, and then stacking it all inside the hospital units, screwing it all back together, all the paperwork for it, all shrink wrapped, it all looked pucker, mate, professional. I had a t-shirt on, it had my logo, the headers of the company, everything matched, mate. I had a hat with the logo on, everything was proper, mate. Now I'm in a warehouse and I'm looking at these 2 fuck off hospital decontaminating units, yeah, filled with gear. And I've got a forklift trolley, I've got a Mercedes lorry, it's a Mercedes lorry thing, and the back went down with a little buzzer. So I've got the pump forklift and I'm loading them on, drove it out. Now I've got the boys ghosting me, one in front, one in behind. And now we've got to go half an hour down the road from Valencia to a place called Gata de Gorgos, right, which is in Denia. And as I said, it was about half an hour drive, okay? So after what's going through my head after seeing Tom going down and the way they've acted, this is scary at this point, man. You know what I mean? I've done this loads of times before, but there was something different about this time. As I say, it was done over 2 days and it was never done like that. Went down to Gata de Gorgos, went down to this depot that we had, which Don had arranged. These were Don's people and it was a man called Domingo. This was Domingo's depot, so we were sending the gear out of Domingo's place. So I do the first one, take it down there. Everything was sweet, got all the paperwork from Domingo, sweet, okay. Went home that night. This was the weird thing. And I'm sat in the studio of our townhouse in Senet Negras. And we had a lovely house. And at the top I had a studio and a big pool table. It was just an incredible place. I wish I had pictures of everything back then. And I sat there with Daisy and I burst out crying for some fucking reason. I just burst out crying. And I don't know what it was, but it was like my body knew what was going to happen. And it was like getting it out of my system now, because you don't want to be crying in the place that you're about to go. And Daisy confronted me and she goes, what's the matter? What's the matter? And I was like, I don't know. And I was just hysterically crying. Weird. Never forget that. So the next day I went out early in the morning and I was lucky. I had a bag of weed on me. And this was a prolific part of the whole story, me having this bag of weed. It was only a small bag like that, like about a quarter or something. Shitty weed and all, you know what I mean? And I went and drove back up to Valencia, got the other one on the back of the lorry and drove it exactly the same way, exactly the same procedure, all the way back down to the depot, Domingo's depot. And as I'm in the courtyard, just about to get it off the back, I look At the bottom of the car park in the corner, there's a BMW with 2 people in it, and it was like a gold colour, like a 5 Series. Gold colour. I remember looking at it and thinking that's weird because there was no other cars in there and they're parked in the corner, and I thought it was weird, but I never thought nothing of it because I just wanted to get this other fucking unit off this lorry and get paid. I had this bag of weed on me, Daisy waiting for me, and I had all the bosses a mile down the road at the roadside cafeteria, which is about, a kilometre down the road from where the depot was. They were all waiting in the cafe. There was Gunman Eddie, there was Tony, there was Colin, and there was Don. So I got the pallet off. When I got the paperwork signed, jumped in the lorry and drove as fast as I fucking could out of there, down to the bosses, down to the cafeteria. I then jumped out the lorry, took my cap off, took my shirt off, so I'm down to my ordinary clothes then, and walked into the cafe to the bosses. Sat down there with the bosses. At this point, Tony has got the paperwork in his hand, the clipboard. He's looking through the paperwork and he noticed that I never got a signature because it was over 2 days. I said this was a weird thing, we never done this. Because it was over 2 days, I was missing 1 signature. So he goes, you're gonna have to go back and get it. So I was like, all right, cool, fuck it. So I go walking out the front back to the lorry to go and get all my gear back on, and Tony is walking out with me. And Tony has got all the paperwork and he's just making sure that I'll get the right signature done this time. Walk out to the lorry, put my company outfit back on, put my hat back on. Me and Tony are talking. I get a tap on my fucking shoulder. He flips his badge down like that, and it was Policía Nacional, and he goes, "Hablo español?" So at this point, I'm trying to keep it cool. I know he's a Fed, but I'm still trying to play it off as happy. Now I'm trying to be happy. Hola, no, hablo poquito, little. And he looked at Tony, and at this point, Tony had all the paperwork in his hands. And he goes, "Este tuyo? Is that yours?" He goes, "No, this is his." Pass me the paperwork. So then I got the paperwork in my hand, and he goes, "Este tuyo?" I looked at him and I went, "See." And I had to take it on the chin, and that was that. But they weren't stupid. They'd been watching us. They'd been listening to his phone calls. He was the one with his phone tapped, so they were listening to the fucking everything. At this point, there's butterflies in my fucking stomach because I know I'm fucked. And at this point, I'm in flight mode. So I'm looking around now of ways to run. I looked up to the side of the motorway, and there was one Fed there with his hand on a gun. I looked over that way, and there was another one blocking my way with his hand on a fucking other pistol. And I was like, in Spain, if you run, they shoot you. So I was like, is this worth fucking dying over? Because I thought, I'm fucked either way here. If I run that way, I'm gonna get shot. If I stay here, I'm going straight to jail. So I'm fucked either way.